I don't really know. It's just always been like that since I can remember. It's really hard for a band to like break through.
Yeah.
Like the last band I remember that was like, whoa, they're really like popping. Well, 3 Deep obviously. Like
Pretty
everybody
deep.
knows them everywhere. Blistered was from here at one point too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but they were popping. So like a couple bands here and there break through.
There we go. We're going. But yeah, no, I agree. It's like, I mean, even with Contention, it's a pretty prestigious band, at least in Tampa, right? But as far as like information on the band, like any of that stuff, it's not really, it's not super easy to find.
You think so?
I don't think, there's like Instagram profiles, but like you don't get to know people's names or what people are
Yeah,
about.
that's true. I would say Contention also isn't more so like a who's in the band as more so
Yeah.
like we just want the band to be all of us collectively. I don't know. Like it's not so much like it's not just me or it's just Cosmo. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of like it that way. Like I like that it hasn't been like oh, it's this guy from another band, so that's
Yeah.
probably why this band is successful. It's like I feel like people are kind of just like, oh, these guys we've never really seen them before, are just in a band, and it's really cool.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
kind of the beauty of it is you can be a little anonymous, right?
yeah. I mean, it's not intentional. I think it's
Yeah.
just we're just dudes. Like we don't care about like being in the public eye, and I don't. I think it's weird when hardcore people are like, I need people looking at me.
Right.
I think it's a weird look for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough line to like balance on because you want to get the band out there and you want to get yourselves out there, but you don't want to make it be all about you.
Yeah, even the band having like social media, like having an Instagram. I don't think I've really done that before with any of the bands prior to. I was in a band called Point of Contact, and we didn't have
Yeah.
Instagram or anything like that. And then Six Paths was a band
Mm-hmm.
before we brought it back, but we were a band back in I think it was 2017,
Right.
and we didn't have social media really.
Yeah, I stumbled across, I think it was like a Bandcamp link to like
Yeah.
the old shit, and I saw the date, and I'm like, whoa, 2017? Like I didn't.
So yeah, we were a band in 2017. Pretty much all the same people minus one guy,
Yeah.
and we did the band, and people liked it. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was going really really well. And then me and the drummer Steve, we started doing Point of Contact, and
Yeah.
that band just was really busy. And I think we just decided we wanted to. We were kind of getting burnt out on like the Marauder, All Out War influenced
Yeah.
hardcore because there was a lot of it at the
Oh
time.
yeah.
And
Still is.
yeah, there's. I don't think that's really ever going to go anywhere.
I don't think so.
But we were burnt out on that. I think also we weren't really writing too much. The shows were kind of like, we're like, I don't know if people really like us anymore. So we felt like just we'll call it, and we'll come if we want to do it again. We'll come back to it.
That's cool because I think post-COVID is a great time.
So yeah, we played 2 shows in 20 last year. We
Okay.
played two shows last year, or it might have been more than 2, but. And we were like, dude, like, this is fun. Like, we're having a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's write some more stuff. So we started writing new songs, and it just came together really naturally. And I hadn't really planned on doing the band like full
Yeah.
on again. But we just started writing, and it sounded really good, and we just kept writing. And now, we're still a band.
And then tour. You guys toured
We
recently.
did tour. It was 3 days. We played Starkville, Missouri or
Uh-huh.
Mississippi. I can't remember which one it was. And then Chattanooga and Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah.
I played Birmingham and Chattanooga a bunch, and it's always a great time.
Is it?
Always
I've
a
only
great
been to
time.
Chattanooga once, but it wasn't for a show. So I was curious what kind of like hardcore culture is up there.
Dude, so Chattanooga is really interesting. It's just a beautiful town. Every time I go there, the weather's always like immaculate.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much down in some mountains. So like if you went like, if you drove 20 or 30 minutes, you could go find like a nice mountain to go look at stuff or hike.
Yeah.
But on top of that, there's just like a booming hardcore scene.
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, it's a really interesting spot for that to like pop off. But
Well, that's kind of a small town.
yeah, it is a pretty small town. But it's a beautiful city, and then on top of that, the scene is awesome. So I just love going there because it's like, oh, it's so nice. Like the weather's always nice, and then it's like the shows. There's so many fucking people there. Like
That's
it's
so
like,
cool.
yeah, it's always a great time.
That's
So,
cool. Like a show, you show up and it surprises you.
Yeah, the guy T-Bone Phil, he books out in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
He used to play in Strength of What Remains. They were an old Tampa band, so I have a pretty solid friendship with him through that. Just seeing him all the time because he was here a lot, and so he books most of the shows that I play out there, and he's
That's
great.
cool. So you've been, I mean, how old are you?
30.
Okay, so you've been in the Tampa hardcore scene for like, what, probably 15 years?
More than a decade at this point.
Yeah.
So
What was
since
it
I was
like?
18 or 19.
What was it like back then?
At what point?
Well, because we're talking, that'd be like 2000, like early 2010s, right?
Yeah, so I would say my first show was This Is Generic Fest that Josh White puts on, who still books shows.
Okay.
And it was at a church. I couldn't tell you. It was the last This Is Generic Fest they ever did. I can't tell you what year it was, but it was probably 2013, like January 2013,
Yeah.
or at the end of 2012. I honestly can't remember. But that was like my first like going to see hardcore bands.
Yeah.
But I liked metal stuff like August Burns Red or Volumes or like some of the funny stuff like that.
I feel like everyone that gets into hardcore goes from metal to hardcore.
So I liked that stuff, but I also liked Real Friends and like the pop punk stuff.
Yeah.
Story So Far. I would go to shows like that, and I thought like the energy was cool because people were like jumping and piling up, and I was like, oh, this is like, this is fun. That's why I liked pop punk shows more than like the Volumes or the After the Burial shows.
What was it?
It was just I just didn't like deathcore after a certain point. Like I felt like I grew out of that at a certain point.
Yeah, the subject matter is important to me. I guess that's one of the reasons I like hardcore is because, listening to metal is kind of like, there's some real stuff, but there's some other stuff. It's just like,
Yeah.
what are we talking about,
Yeah, and I think also I was just like I was 19 or 20, and at the time, like a lot of pop punk bands are singing about girls and like being depressed, and I was like, yes, this resonates with me.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
yeah, I think that's why I gravitated towards that.
Was the Tampa scene back then a lot smaller? Not that it's huge now.
So, dude, honestly, I feel like the Tampa scene. So we had the skate park at Tampa.
Yeah.
And a lot of hardcore shows were happening there, and I would go to pop punk shows there as well. So they were doing just about everything.
Were they doing it in the park, or were they doing it in that little venue in the back?
No, it was a little venue in the back.
Yeah. Okay.
So since they don't have it anymore, the guy that runs King State, it belongs to them, and they do something with it. But
Okay.
yeah, that was our venue for a really long time, and I went to a lot of shows there So in 2013, I went to This Is Generic Fest, and I was still kind of like, hardcore's cool. I don't know if I like it too much, but 2014, that was when I was like, I like hardcore. This is what I'm going to go do.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the shows were at the skate park at Tampa, and then we had this house venue called the Cloud House that was around for a year, and they did just about every show. Just about every local hardcore show was at the Cloud House for a solid 6 months to a year, and those were some of like the craziest shows
Right.
that I remember. But 3D played there. This old band Crisis Unit played there with Increase, Strength of What Remains. All these old Tampa bands from 2014, I saw them all the time, and it was great memories. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool. What's going on with all the venues then? What happened to them? They just fizzle out?
It's just how it goes. A couple venues will be around, and then they'll come and they'll go, or something will happen and they'll be like, oh, I don't want to do hardcore shows anymore. They're too violent or something.
Yeah.
But I've only really been booking shows for the past 2 years, so I haven't really had to deal with any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we had the skate park spot. That was really important, and I know a lot of people were bummed when that fell through. Cloud House, same thing. People had a lot. It was a house, you know. It's so
Yeah.
fun. And people had a lot of fun there. That place resonated, and some hardcore people lived there. So those are like the two venues that I felt like people were like, man, like, I don't know if it's ever going to be this good again.
Yeah.
And but you know, things move along. Like, we'll always find a spot to do shows. It's just
Right.
might not be as cool as what it used to be somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, and I've been to like skate park at Tampa, and I always thought, I'm like, what are they doing not having shows here, right?
Yeah, you know.
But I mean, I get it too. 'Cause
Yeah.
they have so much going on, and the venue. I think they still have a stage, but it's
Yeah.
definitely not big enough to support the kind of shows.
You know, and I think that sometimes shows just they get a little rowdy, and that turns owners off.
Yeah.
You know, they are like, kids are really going nuts, and they might hurt themselves. I think we're gonna pull back from this.
Yeah. Is that what happened to Born Free?
So, I honestly don't know what happened to Born Free.
Yeah.
I think they lost their what's it called?
Their lease.
Yeah, they lost their lease.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate situation. I don't think it was due to violence at the venue or anything like that. I mean, you've been to some shows there. It gets
My last show there, I caught a black eye.
yeah, it gets really crazy in there, which is why it's pretty lovable in
Yeah.
the same breath, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think it was due to that.
Well, it was weird how it happened so quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one day there's shows, the next day it's over.
It was like we were chilling at the Magnitude show, and I'm like, man, this venue's awesome. Like, I was just having a moment where I was like watching Magnitude, one of my favorite straight edge bands,
Oh,
and
yeah.
all my friends are with me, and we're at Born Free, and I'm like, man, I had like one of those moments where I was like, man, does it really get better than this?
Right.
And the next day, they were like, it felt like the next day they
Yeah.
were like, hey, we're closing the show down, and I was like, oh man, like I was definitely bummed, and I was like, but at the same point, I've just seen so many venues at this point that I'm like, the show's gonna go on either way, so I try not to get hung up on stuff like that, like, oh, it's not like Born Free, so the show's not gonna be as great, you know.
Yeah.
I just try not to get hung up on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was a rough one. Because I saw Morning played that same show, and they were at I think they were at Orpheum a couple months earlier, and I missed it, and I was pissed. And they came, and that was the last one that I saw. It was Morning, Magnitude.
That was the last one I saw too.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, this is cool. And I think there was one more show after that, and it was just done.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Where are shows going on now? What are the spots now?
So it's going to be a couple different spots. I have a show January 26th at Pegasus Lounge. I did this band Dead Heat. I did them at Pegasus Lounge I think it was last month. And we've done a show or two there before, but it's a really big venue. So, you know, I like the small spaces.
Of course.
But, you know, times are hard. We got to find a venue. That's where that show's going to be. And then Cafe Hey. I don't know if you've been to a show there before or not.
I haven't been to a show, but I've seen video of shows recorded there.
Yeah, there's a couple of venues to choose from, thankfully. It's just more so I personally wouldn't use them just because Dean was just so easy to communicate with.
Yeah.
I could literally just message him on Instagram and be like, hey, I need this date. Is that okay?
Right.
We would get it handled. As opposed to a lot of these other venues, they like to take their sweet time, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
But that was why I would just go with Born Free because, hey, as a venue, I would know the same day if I could do the show or not. And it's a little trickier with some of the other spots. They just take a little longer.
Yeah. Well, Born Free, isn't it just Dean? Dean owned it, right?
I believe it was Dean and his wife.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Dean was the guy that I talked to the most.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yep. That's rough.
yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. So, okay, so let's get it straight. You're in how many bands now? This is a tough one because I was trying to find all of them and I didn't even.
So I play in Contention the most. I would say that's the
Yeah.
one people are most familiar with. I also play in a band called Six Paths. I sing for a band called Steadfast, and then I sing and play guitar for the Arrival Note.
Gotcha.
Those are my bands.
Okay. I'm sure I've seen Arrival Note, but I knew about the other three.
For sure.
Six Paths is a personal favorite.
Awesome.
I like the metallic stuff.
Me too.
The harder shit.
Yeah,
like,
me
get some
too.
breakdowns in there. So Contention, when did Contention start?
So, dude, we started quite a while ago. It was pre-pandemic. We put out a demo. We played 2 shows, and then the pandemic happened. And then we took some time, started writing some songs. And so the first 2 shows, they were cool. But we were kind of like, I don't know if people are really, like, grabbing onto this. I can't really say that it seemed like people were interested.
Really?
Yeah. So, so we started writing new songs, and we were just like, we'll keep it moving. We'll write these songs. We really like these songs. We'll go record with someone new, put it out. Have someone else do the artwork besides us, because we did the demo art ourselves, and we've gotten better at doing the art side of it. But I had never done it before, and the guy that sings for the band, Cosmo, he had never really done it before either. So we were like, I don't know, why does it look so blurry? We were trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
So we gave it to an actual artist, graphic designer,
Sure.
whatever you want to call them. And so I was like, let's put the best package forward that we can. And I feel like people really latched on to Laying Waste to the Kingdom of Oblivion, which was our EP.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when, we got FYA.
Yeah.
Before FYA, we did 2 shows. We did 1 show in Birmingham, Alabama, 1 show in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So I was immediately like, let's get out there. Let's go tour. Let's go play some other places. I don't even think we had played anywhere else in Florida yet before we were like, let's go tour and just get it done. And, but yeah, once we put out that EP, that's when things really started moving along. And we did that tour. We did FYA, played a bunch of local shows, and we went to Texas, almost died.
I was going to ask where the crash in the timeline happened.
So the crash was on our second tour. We were in Texas with Since My Beloved. Mm-hmm. And thankfully they drove their own car, so they were fine. They weren't involved in it. We had a rental van, and a guy driving on the wrong side of the road, drunk off of his ass, hit us head on. And, we're all good. We all survived.
The irony that it's a straight up.
Yeah. It was definitely comical in a really sick way, know. But it was really traumatic for everyone in the band.
Yeah.
I would say. But we got through it.
Did it do anything to help promote the band? Because that's how I found out about you guys.
Oh, really? Okay.
I want to say Brian Garris, one of the Garris brothers, posted when it happened, and that's how I found out who Contention was.
That's really cool. If that happened, it definitely wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
I think that we did put up a GoFundMe or our PayPal or something like that, and people shared it a bunch, started donating. So maybe that contributed to the success. If it did, that's a crazy way to gain success. I would never do it again.
I don't know if it's worth the risk.
No.
Maybe not next time.
And, but dude, it was traumatic. Like we had a moment where we were like, are we going to tour again?
Yeah.
And, we got through that, and we were like, yeah, we still want to do the band. We still want to tour and all that. Yeah. And we've done a bunch since then. We went to Europe. We did do a full East Coast tour for like, I think it was 7 shows. And then we toured a little bit of the Midwest earlier this past year. Mm-hmm. And so we've done a couple things.
That's cool that you got to do a Europe tour.
Europe was really cool, and it was really unexpected, to be honest.
Did you think the people in Europe even knew?
No.
That blows
I don't
my mind.
know. Like, I didn't expect. I thought people in Tampa fucked with us.
Yeah.
I thought they really liked us, and I was like, all right, this is like we got a good local following. That's what I like. I'm like, I want to play a local show. All my friends are there having a good time, moshing, singing along. Like that's what I care about.
Right.
But it just happened to be a plus that people overseas were really interested in us. We also had the guy who putting out "Laying Waste to the Kingdom of Oblivion." He was based out of the UK, Europe. So I feel that was part of the reason why we might have had a fan base over there to begin with.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure it was helpful to have somebody that had a tie.
yeah. So we actually got to play his fest that he did.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. So and he was really good to us. When we put the demo out and we were like, I don't know what we're gonna do next, he hit us up and was like, listen, if you guys want to do a full length, I'll do vinyl for it. Like, let's do it. And, we didn't have an LP's worth, but we're like, we'll give you 5 really good songs. If you want to put it out on vinyl, great. And sure enough, he stuck with it. He was really interested in the songs, and he put out vinyl. And, like I said, that's when I felt like the band really took off.
Right.
So he's been Ollie from the Coming Strife. That's the guy that put out our EP. He's been really good to us.
That's cool. So what's the plan for, not just Contention, but everyone, all your bands in the future?
Contention has an LP recorded. We're just tidying up a few things, and then we're sending it off to Days Records, and he's putting it out.
That's going to go crazy.
Yeah, we're really excited. I don't know when it will be out, but it'll be out for sure. It's recorded. It's done.
Right.
It's just a matter of when. So
that's exciting.
Six Paths, we're writing an LP. We'll see. Same with Steadfast. We're also writing an LP. We'll see when that happens.
Yeah.
The Arrival Note, we're about to start recording in January, and we're also recording an LP.
That's cool. Sounds like a busy guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't even talk about Armageddon Records yet.
Let's do it.
So so that started, that's more recent, right?
Yeah, so I started it last year, but I only put out one release last year, and it was this band from Atlanta called Painful Choice.
Okay.
I don't know if you checked them out. They're great.
I definitely will.
Yeah, they're awesome. They were friends of mine, and I've known how to like make tapes and CDs. My parents have a church, and they used to like make their own tapes and CDs and send them out. Mm-hmm. So I knew how to do that stuff already. And I was contemplating, I was like, making tapes for my own bands is fine. Like, I think it's crazy when a band is on tour or somewhere, like playing outside of the scene where they're from, and they don't have any physicals. So I was contemplating like, maybe I can help bands out by putting out releases for them. And sure enough, my band, The Arrival Note, we toured with Painful Choice, and they didn't have any merch with them. Mm. They were still a fairly new band, but they didn't have like tapes or merch or anything for them. And I was like, I hit up my friend, and I was like, hey, like if you guys want, like I'll do tapes for you guys. And he was like, yeah, sure. So the first release was the Painful Choice demo. And since then, they've gotten picked up by Sunday Drive Records.
Okay.
So, and they've definitely got some more steam, but it was very early on for them in their career. But they were like, yeah, like we would love for you to put out the demo. So I put it out, and then Contention was like, the rest of Contention was like, let's put all our songs together and just put them out on one release. So I did that. That was number 2. And then I didn't really release too much until the start of this past year, and that's when I was really like, I want to get into the label stuff. And I did Defiant Path from Savannah. I did a tape for them. And then I would say Six Paths was like the demonstration release. That was when people were really like starting to take notice to Armageddon Records. So that was number 4. And then Postdrome, a local band from here, was number 5. And then number 6, I believe, was Dogmatic.
Right.
And then Six Paths and Dogmatic have been like the Armageddon Records bands, I feel like.
That's what it seems like when I see it.
Yeah.
It's always one of those two.
So, and since then I've picked up a bunch of other bands. I did this band from Orlando called Miracle. They're really awesome. And I've done my own band, Steadfast, that I sing for. So I've gotten 20 releases under my belt so far.
I was about to say they're numbered, so
Yeah.
I'm looking at the numbers and it's like it's kind of impressive.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah, I've gone through a couple of releases so far, and I'm really proud with how everything has turned out.
Right.
Really proud of it.
What was the learning curve like? Was it pretty easy, or was there any surprises?
So like I said, I pretty much knew how to do it already, so it wasn't too tricky. Tapes are easy. I can do them. I can make them really quickly. I have the supplies for them on hand pretty much all the time, and they're cheap to make, so I can just churn them out. So those are pretty easy. I haven't had to struggle too much with those. I think it was more so just like learning formatting, sending the correct like file types to printers or whoever, and it's more so been like I design my own band's shirts every now and then, and that's been more so of a
challenge.
Yeah, that one's been more so a little more difficult to figure out, but we've been getting through it.
There's something about the DIY mindset that's it's cool.
So I feel like DIY has like a certain connotation to it, so I don't like particularly brand Armageddon Records as a DIY hardcore label, but it more so is because I make everything myself. Especially the tapes, I make them all myself. The CDs I make myself. I've only done 2 CDs so far, I think, but I make it all myself, and I like doing it that way. It's just easy, and they're fun to make. We are about to start doing vinyl though, and those I cannot make.
I was gonna say it's interesting that you went tapes first, but I guess it's easier.
Tapes are so much easier, so much cheaper. Like it's very low risk. Like if they don't sell, you're only out of pocket so much money. It's really not a lot. Records, it's the thousands.
Really?
That if it doesn't do well, like it really doesn't do well, you could be out quite a bit of money.
Yeah, that's scary. Has that happened? Has there been something you put out that you thought was going to take off and didn't?
I would say just about even the releases that have sold a little slower, they still sell eventually.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's a good time to be in the market as like a record label or record owner.
Right.
Because things do sell eventually, and people are really interested in destroying stuff. So, like I said, I don't really stockpile anything these days. Like it'll sell eventually.
That's good.
So I can't say I've really lost my ass on anything. I'm trying to think of like a release that didn't really do as well as I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Tampa's like a close enough scene to where I think everything you do is going to get eyes on it.
Yeah, at least locally, for sure. Like, everyone knows everyone at this point, I would say. And local love is at an all-time high right now. Yeah. Like, the people that go to shows in Tampa are really excited about the bands in Tampa happening right now. Yeah. Like, everyone's involved, everyone's moshing, dancing. Like, even the bands that I haven't put out per se, but I'm close with, like Yield to None, Forever's Horizon, Dead Set. Like, I know all those people.
Right.
And I'm going to, mosh, have a good time, hang out with those people. And, I would say the same for the Armageddon bands. Like, they also like there's a lot of unity in Tampa right now. And it's so really cool to see it.
I love that. And
I've really been trying to soak it all in because I can't really say that it's been like this in my lifetime since, it's been a long time since it's been as good as it is now. And especially with the bands, like we have so many Tampa bands right now, and it was just years where it was just not like that.
Really?
Yeah, years where it was like there would be one or two Tampa bands that were really doing stuff, playing outside of Tampa or really playing at all. Like there was a couple, like a year or two where Six Paths was like really the only Tampa band.
Wow.
Local Tampa band. Stance and Six Paths were like really the only local Tampa bands doing stuff.
That's insane to me because since I've moved here and gotten familiar with the Tampa scene, it's been more bands than I could even listen to.
Yeah.
Like it's too many to say that I could even get them all.
Yeah.
So to imagine Six Pass being like the only Tampa band is wild.
Yeah. And then forget about like my circle
Yeah.
for a second. There's still like Gaijin, which they're like, I don't know if they're from Tampa specifically, but I think they're close by.
Mm-hmm.
There's bands like that are around, like Gaijin, Plague Spitter,
Right.
Exit Strategy.
Yeah.
Dude, there's just a lot of bands right now, and it's really cool to see it. And it's a great time to be going to shows here.
Oh,
You know,
it's so good.
so you came in at a great time.
I know. I got so lucky. Yeah. No, it was it's as nice as it could be. And Tampa's like a small enough city to where everybody goes to every show. I see the same faces at all the shows
Oh,
that
yeah.
I go to.
That's a good thing too.
Yeah, and like half the people in the crowd have their own bands.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Like the amount of people that I've moshed with before I even knew they had a band is
Awesome.
wild.
Yeah, and a lot of the same faces, which is cool. But which I like, we've seen a lot of new people who I'm like, I've never seen them before, and that's great. Like, I'm glad that we also are getting, like, even if they don't come to every show, it's like a kid that'll come to a show every now and then who I kind of recognize, or
Yeah.
it's like a group of kids that I don't really particularly hang out with them, but they come to every show that we
Right.
book. Like, that's always cool to see, and there's a lot of that right now. So, feeling very blessed lately with our
Yeah.
scene right now.
I think that's how it grows.
Yeah,
You just get kids that come once in a while and they start recognizing that there's a scene and that it's inviting.
yeah,
The power of actually being inviting and not trying to scare people away is what saves it, I think.
and I think that's something that Tampa's always benefited from. I didn't really feel like we've had an exclusionary scene. One, because our scene is so small that we don't really have the room to do something like that.
Yeah.
But and if someone was exclusionary or they were bringing that energy to shows, they usually didn't last very long.
Right.
They were there for the wrong reasons, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny though cuz you can always tell when like a bigger band comes and out of town crowds come.
Yeah,
The moshing looks different, the whole crowd looks different.
yeah.
The whole vibe is not like Tampa's got a vibe.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't know, it's really cool. I wonder if other local scenes have the same thing.
So I would say so. I play South Florida, like Miami, Hollywood,
Yeah.
Fort Lauderdale. I play there quite a bit. They definitely have a vibe to them. It's a good vibe. Really inviting. A lot of people at their shows. All the South Florida shows I've played, lots of people there, and that's really cool. A lot of young kids there too.
That's good.
Yeah, Jacksonville too. Same way. Just a lot of people there that are just excited to mosh and hang out, have a good time.
Yeah.
So I've got I feel like I've been around the Florida scenes a good amount to get a vibe as to how they are.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that there's I don't know what the right word is, but Tampa crowds go to Orlando shows sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And vice versa.
Oh yeah, the Orlando guys come to the Tampa shows quite a bit.
Oh yeah. I got a friend that lives north of Orlando, and he goes to all the shows over there. And then I go to some of the shows here, and him and I are we'll go to a show together and see somebody, and we're like, is he from Tampa or Orlando?
Yeah.
Because he's at both shows every time, you know? It's I don't know how you can even do that.
Dude, the scenes, there's a lot of interconnection right
Yeah.
now. I play Jacksonville, South Florida. I've even played Pensacola a couple times. I've played all the Florida scenes pretty frequently, and that's I feel like that really wasn't a thing a couple years ago. I think it was a thing when I was younger. When I was 19 or 20, we would have South Florida bands play here all the time, or we would have Jacksonville bands play here all the time. But as that wasn't really a thing for a couple years until recently, I would say within the past, since after COVID, that really kicked up again. Like South Florida bands were like, yeah, we want to come play Tampa. Jacksonville bands were like, yeah, we'll come play Tampa. So, and I've like made an effort to include other scenes bands in the shows that I'm doing. Like if I am booking a local show, sometimes I'll be like, I'll hit up a band from South Florida and see if they want to come play it.
Yeah.
Like I brought that band Ephemeral from South Florida. I brought them down to come play. Domain they play here all the time.
Right.
And Leaving Time from Jackson, they're not really hardcore, but they're affiliated.
Right.
They've played here in Tampa all the time.
Yeah.
So
it's good to see the crossover. I don't know. I just think, I mean, that's like the best way to keep it progressing.
Yeah.
Rather than just staying stagnant.
And the promoters too, like the guys that book the smaller DIY shows in Jacksonville, South Florida, Pensacola. I talk to them pretty frequently. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of good relationships there, and it keeps growing, and it's really exciting. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Well, anyways, thanks for coming. Actually, it's nice to have somebody as prestigious as yourself.
Oh, you're too kind.
Anyways, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.